Hi, I'm Sean Irvin, the Sioux Falls Planning Commission Chair. We're going to be talking about some upcoming items on our agenda for the upcoming Planning Commission meeting. And today's show is the Planning Preview. So welcome and thank you for joining us. Jeff, I understand we're doing a little bit different date than usual. We're doing it on a Thursday this month. That's on May 3rd,
That's
correct?
We're going to go to Thursday this week, or this month, instead of our normal Wednesday. City Council has the Wednesday evening meeting. And so if anybody's interested in coming to the Planning Commission meeting, always call ahead and check with us. But it's the same time, 6 o'clock, but we're going to be doing it on a Thursday evening.
Oh, very good.
Yep.
Well, I see we have, 9 or 10 items to discuss today. So the first one looks like it's a rezone from a RD2 townhome residential to single family residential. Let's see, at 117 South Garfield. That must just be northeast of 12th and Kiwanis.
Correct. A little interesting this month. Not a lot of activity. A little bit slower than normal, I would think, for a April submittal, May deadline.
So that must be implying that it's actually maybe not spring, or is it spring as we think it is, perhaps?
Either people are thinking it's just cold and damp outside, or there's not a lot of activity. We'll see as this trend kind of continues. But all of these rezonings that we have coming up, not a lot of big projects, just not a lot of huge activity that we have right now. And this first one's pretty typical of what we have. For the types of things that go to Planning Commission, these rezonings they're currently something that's zoned and they're asking to be something else. And then Planning Commission has to take public testimony on them, hear what the options are. We look at the comprehensive plan, see if it's appropriate, and then upon the public testimony, the Planning Commissioners will decide if it's appropriate and it meets our long-range plan. And then you approve or deny it and you send it to City Council. City Council will have their public hearing, and then in the end, City Council makes the decision on should this land change from this zoning classification to this one. And so that's how these rezonings are done. And this first one, they're already zoned to do twin homes or townhouses on this lot, and they want to change it to a residential traditional lot. It's a little bit smaller sized lot. They have a right to do it. There's really not a lot of change to it. I mean, they can do housing on it now. They're kind of restricting themselves a little bit more, and they can do smaller lots. They can do smaller housing on it, whereas before they could have done a twin home and a townhome. So very appropriate. We're in support of it. We'll see what the public testimony is. But again, they're going from a residential lot to a residential lot.
Right, and this really does fit in with that neighborhood fairly well, just because of the scale of things.
Yeah.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. Next one is a rezone from the O Office District to C4 Commercial, and that's at Benson Road and Westport, so that must just be west of the Sanford Sports Complex.
That's correct. Up on top of that hill along the interstate, north of Benson, we call it the Jansmick Edition. They've developed a lot of land up there, a lot of industrial land, offices, and from, the video that you'll see today in the pictures, there's just a lot of big buildings, whether it's warehousing, it's some distribution, or again, in this case, there's some large offices up there. And as they've kind of finished out the last plans, they're saying, okay, in this last corner, we want to adjust some of their boundaries. And they're coming along the interstate and Benson. This is their last little section of land that they're going to develop.
So by switching from O to C4, that gives them a little more latitude in what they can do, a little more variability, and maybe fitting in that neighborhood a little bit better?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. That makes sense. Next item is, RD1 twin home shifting to an RT1 single family. Now that's at 2122 and 2124 South Duluth, so that's a pair of sites.
Correct.
Somewhere between Augustana and Minnesota.
Yes. Yeah. Very similar to that first one. Again, they have a right to do twin homes, townhomes there. It's RD, residential density. The gentleman, the property owner, lives on one of the lots and he owns the other lot, so he wants to kind of develop these two. The other one's vacant, and he wants to set them up so that he can have this right to do in a residential, traditional, more single family character of his homes. And so that's kind of what he has a plan. And again, I don't like to mislead the public and say, well, this is exactly what he's going to do, because once they zone it, they can do multiple things. So if he's coming in and saying he's going to build a single family house, he may do that, but in both of these cases with the single family, we don't know for sure, but he has a right to build a single family house. He may leave it vacant. And then people come back and go, well, I thought he was going to build a single family. We don't know that, but he has a right to either leave it vacant or keep it single family.
That comes back to that discussion we've had about landowner rights.
Correct.
And just having the, see if the zoning condition actually matches up with the intent of the comprehensive plan. And
absolutely.
if it does, then we're good to go.
Yeah. And as you kind of said, the area that it's in, the character it's in, should it be single family? Can they do residential traditional houses down there? And you go, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. So seems to make sense.
Sure, it does. Let's see, next item is for RS single family to an RD1 twin home duplex at 6 Mile Road and 10th Street. So that would be out by Willow Run Golf Course, I'm guessing.
Correct, out by Willow Run. And this is what we've been talking about a lot. We have residential single family RS, and we have the RD. This property owner currently has the RD, or has the RS, excuse me, so he can do single family. He would like to change it a little bit and do more twin home and townhome. So we'll look at the plan and see as that transition, as that buffer, is this the right location to put more twin homes? And a lot of them come in there and do that based upon the affordability, based upon the land cost, is the infrastructure, the traffic flow, is it the right location?
And a lot of times it leads to what the market conditions are kind of indicating that would be a sellable property and those kinds of things. So, we always look at twin homes next to residential as being kind of a fairly gentle transition. So those make a lot of sense generally.
Yeah, and also in all of these, it's always location. Everybody talks about, well, the three location, 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 and empty nesters. Whether you're on one end of the one end or the other, whether you're an empty nester with no kids or you have no kids but you're gonna start a family. Those empty nesters, a lot of times they start out in these twin homes.
Makes a lot of sense. Let's see, looks like the next one for consideration will be RS single family suburban to RD1 twin home duplex, similar. This is located at 6220 and 6224 South Cimarron. So that must be a few blocks west of that USF Sports Complex down on, what is that, Cliff Street, or Cliff Avenue.
Yeah. As I said, very typical things that we've had this month. Not a lot of activity, not a lot of projects. This is at the end of a street, end of a development. It's down there in the Diamond Valley development. And for unknown reasons, really, everything was built out down there as twin homes, but these last two lots. It just didn't get built out, and it was set aside originally back in the 90s for single family, but it's on this street with twin homes. So when the guy came in to pull his building permits, he's like, I'm ready for my twin homes. We're like, it's actually not set for twin homes. He's like, but everything else in this area was. And we're like, you need to change it if that's what you wanted to do with everything else in the area. So now he comes in, and you can see in all these twin homes, single family, what's the location, what's the market, is it appropriate?
Sounds like that'll tie in with the neighborhood very nicely.
Yeah, they're all twin homes down there.
Okay, good. Next thing on our agenda is an ordinance for the City of Sioux Falls amending Chapter 160 for the Plan Unit Development, or PUD as we like to call it.
This is one of the ones that city staff's bringing forward for discussion. And as we just saw, we have a lot of these zoning items, and this is the precursor to that. Well, what is the land zoned? And then once it's zoned, what can you do in that area? So as you just mentioned, PUDs, planned unit developments, are large campuses. And if you have a large campus, then you get the ability to do multiple things. The hospitals are zoned this, the colleges are zoned this. And the thing that's missing that we've noticed since 2013 and 2014 is all of them are set up to say you should be able to do housing and retail and institutional uses and office uses all in a large campus setting with a lot of open space. You should always have a lot of open space on these campuses. Well, we forgot to allow open spaces as part of one of the allowed land uses in there. And we actually have in the zoning code, you can do an open 1 or an open 2, and one of them is for active recreation and one of them is for a passive recreation. So we need to go back in there and change that. So when somebody comes in for a campus and goes, well, this is where we're going to have our open space, they should be able to zone it accordingly. And then the landowners adjacent to it should know, and we should be able to know, go, so where are you going to put the buildings? Right here. Well, where's your open space going to be? We go right here, and it will be shown as open.
Sure. Sounds like a pretty common sense adjustment to
right.
me. Okay, next item is the conditional use permit for on-sale alcohol at 4810 Southwestern. This must be either in or right next to the old JJ's, I'm guessing?
This is the old JJ's.
Oh, very good.
Really good. Not that we know why you know where it's the old JJ's, but this is the old JJ's at the northwest corner of 57th. And again, the video and the pictures will really show it well, but they're moving. They're moving to one of those new buildings that's being built along 57th Street, and so they're vacating it. This is a new owner, new operator that's going to come into that facility, and they have to come in for their conditional use to operate a on-sale alcohol establishment. They want to run a restaurant with an on-sale license and serve alcohol.
And JJ's has had one there for quite some
Correct.
time, of course.
Yes.
And this is a chance for that new owner to continue the use, but as we know, the alcohol license expires when somebody moves off
Correct.
of that property, and so this allows someone else to take that over if it's acceptable.
And again, a lot of these that we have on the agenda, not only this time, but often, we talk about within 500 feet of a sensitive use. And sensitive uses are defined in our code, but it's really, here it's single family. If it's next to a park, if it's next to a school, if it's next to a home, so then if they are in an industrial area, if they're in a commercial area, then it's not protected. But if they come within 500 feet of a sensitive use, we make sure that we protect those people and have the public hearing.
Yep, and we just want to make sure everybody's aware of that consideration.
Yep.
You bet. Okay, next is another conditional use permit, in this case to allow non-conforming use accessory parking lot at 231 North Weber.
Yeah, this one's really interesting too. We don't do this very often. This is on Weber Avenue between 6th and 8th Street. It's on the west side of the street.
This is by Heritage Park then?
Correct.
Okay.
And this is Johnston's Supply. This is their parking lot. It's an accessory parking lot. It is today, but now they're in the downtown PUD. They're in that, and this parking lot's not allowed in that zoning district. It's a non-conforming use. So,
but it's quite needed by that company,
correct,
obviously.
and they park there. So to have a non-conforming use allowed in the zoning classification, you have public hearings. And so we're going through, it's already in the zoning ordinance that says, how do you allow non-conforming uses? Well, make sure that you have a public hearing so that people can know about it. And so we're going to have a public hearing on allowing a non-conforming use, which is a parking lot, to have a parking lot.
Okay.
So nothing's changing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Let's see, next item is another conditional use permit for on-sale alcohol at 900 North Sycamore. So this must be east of Madison or southeast of Madison and Sycamore.
Correct.
Okay.
There's an existing Cenex station up there, and they have off sale now where they get packaged liquor and you can leave with it, and their request is to do on sale alcohol at this Cenex station, and so it's again within 500 feet of sensitive uses, and so we'll have a conditional use on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, that makes sense. So I think that looks like most of our agenda, but I thought we should probably talk about some things about real estate market and what's driving things and what does it look like for our outlook. I think we'll hear a little bit about that at our Planning Commission briefing, but love to talk about that a little bit today if you can.
Just thought it was springtime, and it gets to be one of those seasons, and it's not something that we talk about very frequently, but how is the housing market doing? How does that relate to what we're doing? And now I sit here and it's live and we're talking about it, and you go, well, it's honestly probably pretty active because the first 4 or 5 items were housing items. That's our market. Everybody is always looking at the housing market. Are you adding twin homes? Are you adding single family? Are you adding value to your land for housing? That's really typically what we see as the Planning Commission. And if it changes, if we see a downturn in the market, I thought, we should hear about it from the citizens. We should know about it. We should look into the industry and know about it. Planning Commission is a board of citizens. The city council is elected. But if we're not talking about the market or don't understand it, then we don't have that tool. So I wanted to make sure as a commission we have that tool. From the city staff perspective specifically, we track how many permits we have in a month, how many we have annually, and in general, I think we're down a little bit right now through April. And that's probably just because of the season.
Yeah, a longer winter will tend to do that, I think.
Yeah, and we have to look through March through April every year, but at the same time, this has been an abnormal season for us. So we're a little bit down, but then I always try to look at, well, how do we compare to everybody else? And it's everybody else way up and Sioux Falls is down, but everybody's really down. So, it's just kind of the nature of where we're at in the Midwest right now, and everybody's just not building as much. It might be weather, it may be the economy, we'll see, and we'll continue to talk to Planning Commission, we'll watch our agendas to see. But I think at the same time, the more important thing we hear is affordability. Are we aware, are we taking care of the affordability issue? We're aware of it. We need to be aware of it at Planning Commission and as staff too. And if we're not, then we'd have a problem.
Sure, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, if anyone wants to learn more, please search on your favorite search engine for the Sioux Falls Planning Commission. You'll find our page, and there are a number of resources there, including our upcoming agenda and some other items for your consideration. We appreciate very much hearing from citizens. We want to do that every day we get together, because citizens are what help us to make really good decisions for the city and help the city to always consider all of the neighbors' opinions as well as landowners, because that's a lot of what we do, is trying to balance all of those different concerns and make sure that it makes sense for the city of Sioux Falls, because that's what we're all here for. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for watching Planning Preview.